You got some problems that you wanna solve? Then let's chat. That job getting on your nerves? Then let's chat. Girl, you know I can relate, so let's chat. Cause I'ma tell you what the bottom line is.
I'ma tell you what the bottom line is. I'ma tell you what the bottom line is. I'ma tell you what the bottom.
It's your girl Cece. I'm your hostess with the mostest.
I'ma tell you what the bottom line is.
Welcome to another episode of The Bottom Line Is. It's your girl Cece, the hostess with the mostest. And today's guest, I'm so excited, is Kachandra. And just a little backstory, we met off of TikTok, and that just tells you social media is where it's at, all about networking. It's not about just scrolling till you fall asleep. You can make meaningful connections through social media. And I gained a new friend, and I want you all to gain a new friend too. So today we're going to be talking about, divorce. So a lot of times on my platform, I talk about relationships or dating, but we also need to talk about sometimes you get into relationships and you grow out of them. Right. So we had an episode previously in regards to grieving those relationships as well. It's not about grieving death or anything like that. But in a matter of grieving the after effect, we need to talk about the preparation effect when you know that your relationship, unfortunately, may be going down that way towards a divorce. So as women, we really need to protect ourselves and our assets that we work very hard for. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. So I'm going to turn it over to Kachandra so she can just go ahead and introduce herself and tell you a little bit about her story.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me, first of all. So my story, right? My story is basically I was in a 20-year relationship. Of that 18 years, I was married. And a lot of people may say, like, well, how could you be in such a long relationship and then decide to leave into divorce? The truth of the matter is I was unhappy in the marriage for a very long time. And at least 15 of those years, I stayed for the sake of my son because I didn't want him to be raised without both parents in the household. But essentially, I had to get out of the situation. I was not happy. I was depressed. And then the number one thing that drove me to file for divorce. So there's like 15 different reasons why I wanted a divorce. Let's just start.
I got you. Yeah. Doing those pros and cons.
Right. But the number one thing is we were on two different pages financially. And I just really felt that I was like, for lack of a better word, I just felt like I was the man in the relationship. All decisions fell on me. I was the one that was more responsible with money and saving. I was just a go-getter, where he was kind of the opposite and just very content. But one of the things too that scared me is I had never lived alone by myself, right? So the idea of being divorced and what would that look like? What would that feel like? Me living by myself, paying all the bills by myself. And oh my gosh, what if there's an emergency? And that was real scary for me. That was a real thing. So
yeah, I can see how that can be overwhelming for sure. The thought of it.
I had never lived by myself. When I moved out of my parents' house, I had a roommate to help with finances. And again, I was in this long-term relationship. So we had been together for 20 years. So I started living with him at age, 21 or 22. So anyways, to prepare, I knew that I needed to really just look at the big picture as far as, what will it look like to, pay all the bills by myself? What do I have saved up? What are some possible emergency situations that may pop up? So for me, I do have like the regular 9-to-5 job, like I mentioned with you. But aside from that, I do real estate and some other things to bring in that extra income. So I knew I had to really take that income and just store it and save it and just, be prepared for a rainy day. So that's pretty much kind of like my backstory. it was a lot involved. So you want me to just dig in a little bit more?
Well, before you dig in, it's just a couple of things that you said that I wanted to touch on, because I think that we get into, we're going to call it situationships, right? Even though in some cases they might be, boyfriend, girlfriend, marriages, where we unfortunately know that's not where we need to be, because like you said, we're unhappy, but because of our, situation, or what we think may be our situation, if we separate from the other person, we stay. And then at the end of the day, we continue to be unhappy. We're not getting what we need in a relationship. Our needs aren't really getting met, whether that is emotionally, mentally, whatever. And I think a lot of people are stuck in that rut, unfortunately. And sometimes I feel like you just have to look into the mirror. And I'm speaking to myself as well when I say this. You have to just look in the mirror one day and just say, how much longer do you want to be putting up with this? Like, what is it bringing to your life? Because here you are. I feel like something like that will make you age, because I feel like I surely aged from my last relationship because I stayed out of convenience, and that's time I can't get back.
You can't get it back. You're right.
And saying that, if it don't work, I'm going to get a divorce. No, what I'm saying is, do the steps to prepare for the divorce, whether it's therapy, trying to, get together and try to be on the same page to make things work or what have you. I mean, you took your vows, right? But sometimes different strokes for different folks, and things don't work out. So I don't want people, as they watch the episode, I don't want you all to think that, divorce is such a negative thing, because when you get into these relationships, sometimes you get into those relationships for a reason, and it's to teach you something. And I feel like, as you kind of share your story as we go through the episode, I think the viewers, and, I'm sure you realize that it made you stronger, being able to know that you could stand on your own. And then you could also teach your son, hey, you can do it. You don't have to rely on somebody else to do these things. You can do it. And so I think that's just important to, to mention. And, sometimes, once you come up with that idea, sometimes you do have to take that step back and, reassess the situation, and then just do the different steps and figure out what needs to, happen. Because like they say, at the cliche statement, Rome wasn't built in a day. Right.
Yeah. And like you say, you do have to take the steps, and there's a lot of steps, even from an emotional standpoint, because, oh my God, the emotions that are involved. One minute you happy and you feel like, oh, I'm doing this, and the next minute you're questioning yourself. So yeah, definitely like getting therapy is an important part of the process too, for sure.
No, yeah, for sure. So talk a little bit about your process, and then, at leading up to it, as far as your preparation, and then we'll kind of dig really into the finance part of it, because that's very important. I feel like that's what a lot of couples, besides kids and custody, I feel like finances is the next big thing that is argued over, right? So.
And I will apologize in advance if you hear some noise in the back that sounds like a toy, because my dog is playing with his toys, and this would be the time he decides to play with his toys.
He wanted to make a guest appearance. That's all.
Okay. So with that, repeat your question again for me. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no worries. So, talking about the steps that you mentioned in preparation for the divorce, right? So, we're going to, focus in on finances, but overall, what are some steps that you took to like emotionally prepare yourself for this new, I guess, adventure, so to speak? And then we'll kind of really dig into the finance preparation.
Right. Well, the first step was really for me to assess like how I was in the current state mentally. And I knew that I was just depressed and not healthy mentally. I was just night and day. The person you see today was not the person that I was at that time. So it was really for me doing that self-evaluation as far as, do I want the second half of my life to look like the first half? Because, I was looking at my age too, and I was like, there's no way I can go forward. I deserve more. I deserve to be happy. So then, what I naturally, started to do is just research a little bit. I would go on to Google, to TikTok, to whatever source that I could find to just figure out, people that went through the process and what did they have to say about it, because I needed some type of insight. And what I found out that it wasn't a whole lot out there. So I was really craving to, like have someone that I could talk to about this process, when you speak to a judge, what type of questions are they asking? What type of information are they looking at? So that was kind of my starting point. But with doing that, I did realize that, attorneys are very expensive. So
kudos to the attorneys out there. Y'all making y'all bank. Okay.
I really didn't even want an attorney, but my ex-husband, he felt like, no, we needed attorneys, because he felt as though like, if we didn't have an attorney, he would be missing out on something. Like he wouldn't get as much incentives or assets or whatever it should be had he not had an attorney. So I was kind of forced into that situation. But yeah, so I got an attorney. I saved up as much money as I could. Like I said, it's a good thing I had money set to the side already. And, life happened too. Like during that time, it was during COVID. So, there's a lot going on throughout COVID. And oh gosh, it was just a lot going on, But yeah, so just really mentally preparing and preparing financially, and just having a team of people to support me. Like my sisters were really close. So yeah, just having those different resources and those foundations in place.
No, for sure. I think definitely it's important when you're going through that, because again, that's a big chunk of your life that you're about to change. So it's very important to have that emotional support, whether it's your friends or family members, to help you kind of go through that, because you're no longer going to be sleeping. You're going to be sleeping in the bed alone. Like, you're going to be in the house alone, all these different things. And when you're going through a divorce, now correct me if I'm wrong, and I don't know if this is just my state thing or what, but you have to be separated, right, for a year. Is that true everywhere, or?
I'm not really sure. I live in Florida. I don't think that rule applied in Florida. I hadn't heard anything.
I wasn't sure. I feel like over the years I've heard people say that, and they're like filing paperwork, but I'm like, oh, okay. Like, yeah,
because no one had said to me like you have to be separated for a year. Like we started the process and we just went through it. So yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. So you talked about, like saving up. So at what point did you know that you needed to save up? Like, is it when you decided to file, or, did you start saving?
Let me just say that. So I was starting to save beforehand, but throughout the process, I was learning. So this is what I learned that I want to pass on to other people.
Okay.
When you're going through a divorce, they look back, at least in Florida, they look back like the last 2 years of your income, right? So whatever money you had saved up in, let's say, a savings account throughout that time, and then the day you file for divorce, your spouse is entitled to half of that. So what I wish I'd known in advance is I wish I would have given myself at least a 2-year head start, meaning like, okay, today is the day I want to file for a divorce, or I'm thinking about considering it. So this is what I now need to do to prepare to at least take some of my money and be strategic about it, and maybe tuck it away, or maybe not necessarily share with my spouse about a particular checking or savings account that I have. And I know that I'm not advising anybody to do that, because I know throughout a divorce, you're supposed to disclose all this information.
Right.
But what I'm saying is for women to just be very smart and strategic about the moves that they make. And had I just started that process at least 2 or 3 years in advance, because remember, I said to you, I've known forever, for a long time, I wanted to divorce. I stayed an extra 15 years for the sake of my son.
Mm-hmm.
So that would be the advice that I would give to women. If you're not in a situation where like abuse is happening or something like that, and you really want to prepare and at least have some of your money tucked away and saved without anybody knowing about it, at least give yourself a 2-year head start from it.
Mm-hmm. Now, what's the after effect of that? So, you know, when you get to court and finances are shared, you know, what are the next steps? Like, is everything split 50-50? Like, how does that really work?
Yes. So pretty much when you are married, everything is split. So the court recognizes everything as far as, you know, you're one lump sum together. The problem with most of us, at least my problem was, I feel like I busted my behind and I worked very hard to save up the money that I had and the investments that I had made. So how dare you want to have half of it? And I'm pretty sure most people would feel that way. But again, when you're married, it's not viewed that way. So yeah, I had to actually, at the end of my divorce, I had to pay money out to him.
So you had to pay alimony.
I had to, not alimony, even though he was asking for alimony, he didn't granted that. But as far as the divorce settlement, I did have to pay him out a large chunk of money from what I had saved up, because the court recognized that, hey, you know, it's half of his too. No matter how hard you worked for it.
Even though he ain't help you get there.
Exactly.
I'll tell you, it's something. It's like, really though? Like, but so even if you, let's say you had this money, like a good pot of money before you got married, right? Like, let's say you were only married for like a short amount of time, 2 years or something, right? Well, we'll say 3 since you mentioned the 2-year mark. Like, how would that work? They would still split it 50-50 based on the last 2 years, even though, let's say you have a business or something that you're getting that's in your name, they still want that split.
Okay, so are you asking if I had those things before I got married, or
no, just in general, like with that type of situation? So for a shorter marriage, you know, and how would they deal with that? Yeah.
I believe every state does it differently, so I don't want to like give advice on it, but I think every state does it differently, and I believe that it goes by a certain bracket of years you've been married to determine what the outcome would be. I think that's how it works. But for me, I was considered a long-term relationship. How many years were involved?
Yeah, what's that saying? It's cheaper to keep them. You know, like, but I don't know if I could do it though. I'm like, if I'm unhappy, I'm like, one of us ain't gonna make it out of here. Like, no.
I was really unhappy, and I really wanted to move forward with my life and find a person for me in my life that would have been more compatible for sure.
No, and kudos for you taking that step, because like we said earlier, that takes a lot of courage to make that initial step. You know, and maintain your stance in regards to that step. So definitely don't want to go without saying that. So what's the difference between alimony and then paying a divorce settlement?
So alimony is basically, so for example, let's just say, for example, I was the breadwinner in the marriage and I required my spouse to stay home and not go earn an income, or maybe they earned a small income. So alimony is basically would be me paying them on a monthly basis so that they can keep up with that everyday lifestyle that they had.
Okay.
Now, as far as the settlement, that came more so as far as the assets you've had. So, for example, we had a house together, right? So even though I feel like, oh, I was the one that put down the down payment, I was the one that renovated the house with different things, like I put a lot of money into it. It didn't matter. When it was time to divorce and we had to sell that house, we had to split the money that was made 50-50, right? Of course, I'm gonna feel like it's not fair, but that's just what it is. It's the law, right? And then going back to if I had any type of land or money in accounts, investments, pension plans, like whatever, that person is entitled to half of it. The other person is entitled to half of it.
Wow. Again, it's cheaper to keep them. I don't know.
Or it's cheaper to keep, or moving forward, right? You can have a relationship and don't even bother to get married going forward.
I know, right? Oh my gosh. Yeah. I was sitting here while I was listening to you, and I was sitting here thinking that exact same thing. I was just like, do I want to get married?
Oh,
But I mean, yeah, I mean, we all get married. I've never been married, but I know when I do get married, I definitely hope that I get married and stay happy. And I feel like I waited this long, so
right,
you better be Mr. Right. I'm just saying.
Yeah. So I guess fast forwarding to now, I'm officially divorced. I live on my own.
Congrats.
And so what I really want to do is help divorced women or women that are thinking about a divorce. Again, prepare for it, being kind of like that mentor for them, someone to talk to, like, hey, you went through this. What was your experience? Or just someone to talk to. But then also too, to make them feel empowered once they do complete the process, and not feel like, oh my gosh, it's just me by myself. And because we know you can't rely on your normal 9-to-5 job. You gotta
be creative nowadays.
Yeah, you gotta have multiple sources. So I'm really trying to educate women to really think outside of the box, to think about those other things that they could be doing to bring in extra income into their household, but with a huge focus on passive income. So that's my approach going forward.
No, I got you. So so I kind of wanted to, now that we have the backstory here, kind of move into, now that you're officially divorced, congrats again. What does that look like now to rebuild for you?
So it's a new chapter. It feels good. I'm not gonna lie. Sometimes you do feel lonely, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes you definitely feel lonely, but overall, it's a new beginning for me. It's caused me to really look at myself and really explore, like, what do I want to do going forward? So I've written an ebook, like I said before, like kind of getting women to like just open up the idea of welcoming the idea of what they could do to make passive income. I mean, it's nothing like making money in your sleep, right? And a big way of doing that is, we live in a digital world now, right? So digital products, AI, like how do we utilize these tools to help us make more money? So that's my angle on that. And going forward, absolutely, hopefully one day having a partner that has that same mindset, so I could basically, make sure that the future is brighter for my son and his children, right? So that's what rebuilding looks like. It's me living a life that I've always wanted to live, with traveling and just enjoying all these great things that God has created. So that's what it looks like for me.
For sure. So just talking a little bit about passive income. So if you could tell us the name of your ebook first, but then like kind of give us some tools or, some tips to get that type of passive income. Because like you said, it's definitely, I feel like everybody now outside of their 9-to-5, as you mentioned, we have to have some type of hustle on the side. I don't know not one person that doesn't right now, at least in my friend circle.
So with passive income, so there's a ton of ways to make passive income, right? So for me, it's with digital products. So what does that look like, right? That's just a word, digital products. How do you put that in like real life terms? So if I'm here and I'm telling you, okay, my focus is to help divorced women or women that's thinking about divorce. So I've created an ebook that's called Unbothered and Unstoppable. Basically a divorced woman's guide to making extra money and extra and passive income. But so this ebook is going to be posted on It's not on there yet, but it's going to be posted on my TikTok page, my storefronts. So people that have this desire or this need for this product, they can go on there and purchase this book.
Okay.
And then also it will be another option for those that want to get into the space of digital products, for me to be able to educate beginners of how to do this from beginning to end, and how they could basically, again, make money while you're sleeping. I mean, every little penny counts. It adds up, right?
Yeah, no, for sure. So look, I know the ebook is pending, but can we get like a little sneak preview, little sneak there? Yes.
Absolutely. So some of the ideas are, so really the first thing is you have to think about, what are you good at? What can you educate other people on without even thinking about it? Right. So that's what most people have to do first. Maybe you are someone, for example, that cooks really well, right? You don't have to be a professional baker or chef or anything like that, but maybe you cook well and you have some really good recipes or something that people always ask you about, like, oh my gosh, that was so good, how did you make that? So maybe you could just make like a simple guide or ebook or something, right, where you just kind of outline the ingredients and take pictures of the product and post it on your Instagram, Facebook, whatever platform you use to sell this product. It could be the same thing as far as, let's see, someone that, I don't know, like, so, I got sister locks, right? So that's one thing I'm talking about too. And this isn't passive income, but this is more so like the extra income aspect of it. But a lot of people are getting sister locks, right? So have you thought about taking a class on learning this technique? Me personally, I don't think there's enough technicians out there, right? Not good ones, at least.
I would agree, because I was just making phone calls with my cousin about that yesterday to try to find people.
Right. Like, so luckily I have someone that I love dearly. My loctician is the best. But if it wasn't for her, it's like, who would I go to? So it's kind of like a skill that's needed. So, and you can make a lot of good money with that. So just thinking about that extra money. Again, you don't have to quit your normal 9-to-5 job. But let's say you wanted to, right? At least now you have that backing, right, to make those decisions to move forward with something else. You don't have to be stuck in a situation that doesn't work for you, because you do have that extra income coming in.
Okay. No, that's cool. Thank you for sharing that. We'll be on the lookout for the book. I'll make sure that I post it on my social medias as well when that book comes out. We're excited. So what's some other advice you would give to women that are thinking about, exploring this path?
You know what? Excuse me. I would say you have to do it. Make it seem like it's something you have to do, just like you need air to breathe. You have to do it, because take it from me.
Wait a minute, Kachandra, I didn't hear you. It was like your voice was muted. So say that point again. I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. Someone was calling me throughout this podcast, so maybe that messed up the sound. But what I was saying is, I would really like for women to make it be something that's necessary, that they have to do in life to be able to make extra income and have passive income. Make it just as important as it is like you're breathing air, because you're gonna need it. We already know that things are very expensive with, inflation, the economy, like everything is just so expensive for no reason, right?
Right.
So put yourself in a position where you're setting yourself up for success, no doubt.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I feel like we all have talents that sometimes then we get into that rut where we think we're not good enough again. It's that imposter syndrome, and it's like, you can do this. You can do it.
You can do it. And then sometimes it's hard for us to look at ourselves to see our own talents or whatever, but talk to people you really trust and ask them, have them to give you feedback. Like, what about me that you really like, that you enjoy? What type of values do you see in me? So one thing that there's a common theme with me is people always say, oh my gosh, you're so easy to talk to. I can talk to you about anything. I'm so comfortable talking to you. You don't judge me. So I could really capitalize off of that if I wanted to, which I've decided to do that. So one of the things is, if you want me to be like a mentor for you, we can have a one-on-one call about it. And then obviously I have to charge for the phone call, but other people can do the same, right? Yeah. If you know you're good at something, make sure you get compensated for the skills and abilities that you have.
No, for sure. Well, is there anything else that you think that women need to know, whether it's the preparation, the during, or the after, before we close out?
Yeah, I guess just to recap, it's just, if you're thinking about it, just kind of give yourself a head start with your preparation. Like I said, the judge usually goes back to request documentations of, let's say, your bank accounts for like the last 2 years, right?
Right.
So if you want it to look like you don't have much money,
right,
obviously within those 2 years, make your bank account look really low, and be kind of, again, I'm not giving bad advice.
Right. You're only sharing your experience.
Be smart. Be smart about it, And then too, once you finally made that leap, which again is very, very scary, especially if you have never been living on your own and handling finances on your own, to definitely put yourself in a powerful situation to have that extra income and that passive income coming in, so you can have that freedom and just be able to make better decisions about your life moving forward.
No, for sure. So on that note, I'll recap as well with saying the bottom line is, if you get to a point in your relationship and you've exhausted all other options, and unfortunately, divorce seems to be that only option, as we've been talking about today, it requires preparation. Okay. You can't just, well, you could, but it might not work out in your favor. Okay. If you go to the courthouse and get the paperwork, right? It definitely takes some preparation and some thought behind it. So make sure, again, you're preparing for it, doing your pros and cons, thinking about how is this going to look while I'm going through it? And then what's my plan for after? And, kind of sowing those seeds, putting together that business plan on paper. So when you are free, so to speak, you can go ahead and hit that ground running and do what you need to do to flourish and become that better you, and whatever that looks like for you. So now, Kachandra, how can they reach you if they want to know more information or to contact you to be that divorce coach for them? I was about to say dating coach, but you might turn into that too. My slip up might have become
something to think about.
Yes.
Well, I am best reached on TikTok. My TikTok page is Locks. It's a play on words, so it's lots of income, but Locks for sister locks, right? So it's LOCS .of.income. So Locks of Income.
Awesome. And like I said, you guys, as soon as that ebook drops, I will definitely be making a post about it. So, but definitely follow her so you can also stay up to date with any updates that she has going on. I appreciate you all joining us. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, give us some feedback, talk about your divorce story if that's something that you went through, provide other advice for women. That's what it's all about, this platform, relatable conversations to help us all be a better self. So thank you all again for tuning in, and we'll see you next time on The Bottom Line Is.